I don't normally watch anime, but I did go to an anime club to participate in a Pokemon tournament. It was a round-robin tournament, so the player with the most wins, wins. If you click the above option, you can watch every match that I played at normal speed with my commentary. But if that's too long for you, then you can click the bottom option to watch all of the matches sped up with music. There are 7 matches total. Enjoy, humans! And for the first round of this round-robin tournament, I was up against Conrad! And that match against Conrad shall be played right now, right off of my versus recorder. Okay, so for every match of this round-robin tournament, I try to put a different Pokemon at the front of the party. Well, almost every time. Sometimes I had the same Pokemon at the front of my party, but okay, here we go. He starts off with Absol, a powerful Pokemon. I start off with Goodra, or Udra, my Goodra, who is powerful but also somewhat defensive. He's using Quick Attack and in that priority move, that's fine, but that's not going to stop me from wrecking his team, so I Dragon Pulsed it. Tried to knock it out in 1 hit, and I was unsuccessful, but thankfully, I'll knock it out in 2 hits. Yeah! Dragon Pulse all the way. So his Absol is defeated, leaving him with 5 Pokemon remaining. Up next, he sends out Trevenant, his Ghostly Tree. Now I can assure you that I was a bit nervous when I first fought this thing. And with it using Shadow Force, you know, that's not very good. That's not very good for me. Thankfully I did have Ice Beam, so I could get a super effective hit on it. He almost kills me here. Thankfully he doesn't. I'm gonna Ice Beam it, and I Ice Beamed it. I don't know why I'm saying I'm gonna Ice Beam it. This match already happened and I'm post-commentating it, which I don't like doing, but I can't imagine you guys wanted to hear the background noise of this tournament. So here we go. He uses Horn Leech. Forgot that, I guess he forgot that Goodra has Sap Sipper, meaning I can't get hurt by grass attacks. That mistake is his Trevenant's downfall. Up next he has Clovis, his Haxorus. Dragon versus Dragon action. His is stronger, mine's more defensive, but unfortunately my defense shan't save me because it's a special defense stat that I have. See, Goodra's specially defensive, not really regularly defensive, so his Haxorus was unfortunately able to take out my Goodra. So I sent out Yawa, my Mawile, my Dragon Wrecker, as I like to call her. Well, I don't normally call her that, but I'm going to call her that now. I Mega Evolved my Mawile here. And see, here's the thing. He can't hurt me with the Dragon-type move because I'm resistant to Fairy, and he's using Rock Tomb, which I also resist. And with my Mega Evolution on my Mawile, my attack and my defense are boosted, which means this is going to one-shot him. Alright, so with Haxorus defeated, I have now gone through half his team. 3 down, 3 remaining. Up next, he has Delphox, a fire psychic type, and a wise choice, but unfortunately for him, he didn't know that I had Sucker Punch. And that's 4 down, just like that. So far, I only have 1 down, he has 4 down. With more than half of his team defeated, he sends out Blue, his Lucario, a wise counter to Mawile, but unfortunately for him, Mawile was just too much for this Lucario, and so I Brick Broke him. Yes, I'm turning Brick Break into Brick Broke. Okay, and with that, only 1 Pokemon remained on his team, and it is none other than Gengar, which I helped him evolve, by the way. He had a Haunter, he wanted to evolve it, so he could have something to use in the tournament, and I helped him evolve it. Unfortunately, I did not save him for the remainder of the tournament, or at least the remainder of this match. And so, I killed his Gengar with a successful round on my part. I won the first round of the round-robin tournament! And so, here are the results. Now, for the second round of this tournament, I shall be up against none other than, I know I'm stalling, hang on. I shall be up against Amber, or Ambi as she's called in here. The only girl at this tournament. I mean, there are other girls there, but there was only 1 girl competing, and this was her. She starts off with Greninja. Prior to this match, we actually had a mistake. I accidentally entered 1 Pokemon instead of 6 because I accidentally hit confirm, but whatever. Anyway, this is the match that we kept and allowed. They disregarded the first match, so I started off with Yulvion, my Sylveon, and one-shot here Greninja with a powerful Moonblast! Okay, with 1 Pokemon down and 5 remaining, she sends out Nidoking, which is a poison ground-type Pokemon and super effective toward my Sylveon. I used Protect just to see what he would use, so you could call it stalling. I just wanted to make sure he was actually going to attack, or she was going to attack me, and she was, so I decided to switch out. Because she was using a poison-type attack, I figured it might be smart to go to Yai Score. Now you might say, well, why did you go to Yoshiller? I mean, she is immune to poison. Well, yeah, but she's not immune to ground, and I imagine that Nidoking has Earthquake. And since Yoshiller is defensive and can't get hurt by Earthquake, I figured he was the better option. So I used Earthquake, and I one-shot the Nidoking. So there we go. 2 down, 4 to go. Okay. A third of the way done with her team, I was. And I am poisoned, and I don't have Poison Heal. Okay. Aegislash was her next Pokemon, a Steel Ghost type, and a very common Pokemon I see in competitive battles. And of course, she's using the good old change of stance strategy, where she uses King Shield to change herself to defense form, and yada yada yada. I wanted to stay in, though. I wanted to hit it with Earthquake. Thankfully, I was able to. She was probably expecting to be faster, but unfortunately, she was not. However, she did survive, and now she's going to attack form, and she's about to wreck my Yoshiller. However, she is using a physical attack, which means Yoshiller could survive this. He does, but ultimately the poison is the end of Yoshiller. It's okay, Yoshiller, you did a good job. So with that, my first Pokemon is down. So I decided to go with Espeon. I knew Espeon would be faster. And I knew that she didn't have any physical attacks to worry about with this King Shield thing. So here we go. She uses King Shield again. I'm not too concerned. Ultimately, she's just delaying her death. I do have Shadow Ball. I could probably also use Psychic and still kill it. Anyway, this Shadow Ball is the end of that Aegislash, and with that, I am halfway done with defeating her team. Okay. With that said, oh yeah, my Espeon has a Life Orb on it, so she can boost her power, but suffer from recoil damage. Alright, so she sends out Charizard and Mega Evolves it into Mega Charizard X, so she could have a Fire Dragon type Pokemon on her team that isn't a Legendary, because the only other Fire Dragon type Pokemon is a Legendary and was banned from this tournament. So I use Psychic, and unless she has a Mega Evolution Pokemon, it doesn't make Charizard that defensive, but defensive enough to where it could survive a Psychic attack from Espeon. And unfortunately, Espeon wasn't very defensive, so Espeon is down. With 2 Pokemon down, I had 4 remaining, so I decided to send out Yoshiller. I might be thinking, why'd you send out Mawile? Mawile's weak to fire. Yeah, well, I had Sucker Punch, and I don't think that Charizard would have any stat boosting moves unless it had Dragon Dance, but I don't think it would have. So I used Sucker Punch, ultimately killed Mega Charizard X, and evolved my own Mawile, so we had a Mega versus Mega right there. Alright. 4 of her Pokemon down, 2 remaining. I still got 4 of mine. She sends out Lucario, which was quite a common Pokemon here at this tournament. Though I didn't see any Mega Lucarios, which is interesting, because you'd expect Mega Lucario to be common. Anyway, I broke the Lucario. He's fighting is super effective toward Lucario, even though it is a fighting type. Okay, so it's weak to one of its own types. And last was Gardevoir, a Psychic Fairy type. Though Mawile is a Steel type, which means I'm super effective toward Fairy, but there's something else she could do. It's your last Pokemon. I used Sucker Punch, just because I didn't know if that Gardevoir would have killed me. It's using Moonblast, and as I discovered here, it actually doesn't kill me, but I decided to use Sucker Punch anyway, because I knew that Gardevoir is certainly faster than Mawile. If it's not, then I'm surprised, but I'm pretty sure it was going to be faster, so I used Sucker Punch again, and ultimately win this match. And with that, I have won the second round of this round-robin tournament! Good game, Amber. Okay, so here are the scores now. They might be a little inaccurate, but whatever. Okay, for the third round, I was up against Glenn! Alright, so Glenn proved to be a tricky opponent, as you'll see here in this match. He's known as Vyze in his game, but in real life he's known as Glenn. Sorry if you didn't want me to tell people your real name, but, you know, kind of have to. Okay. So he starts off with Lucario. I start off with Mawile. Of course, I Mega Evolve my Mawile because there's no downside to doing so. She has the same typing. She just gets stronger and more defensive. So I Mega Evolved her. Okay, so he has Lucario. He's using Earthquake. I'm glad I Mega Evolved Mawile because that way she was able to survive this Earthquake and she is able to Brick Break this Lucario. Bam. And with that, Lucario is done. He's down and out. Okay. 1 down, 5 to go. Looks like a good match in my favor so far. Now he sends out Weavile, a Dark Ice type. And normally Mawile is super effective toward it, but he does have Low Sweep and Weavile is pretty strong and pretty fast. It wasn't enough to kill me though. So I Brick Break this Weavile because it's 4 times super effective toward Weavile. Or at least fighting is super effective toward Weavile. It's 4 times super effective toward Weavile. I could have used Iron Head, but I wanted to get the 4 times super effective hit, so I used Brick Break. Alright, so now he sends out Charizard. I use Sucker Punch, which isn't enough to kill it, so he ultimately kills me with Flamethrower. So, I finally have Mawile defeated. It's okay, Mawile! You did an awesome job. Good girl. Okay. So, I decided to send out Udra because she resists fire. But for some reason, I wasn't thinking that he'd Mega Evolve his Charizard and use a Dragon attack on me. For some reason, it just didn't occur to me. So, this was actually my mistake. I should have sent out something else, but oh well. He uses Dragon Claw, and like I stated in the first round here, Goodra is specially defensive, not physically defensive. So, unfortunately, I pretty much just wasted a Pokemon. It's okay, Goodra. That's fine. So, I went with the Ice Core, who is physically defensive and physically offensive. So, I figured as long as I was able to take a hit, I could defeat his Charizard. And thankfully, I was able to take a hit. So, I used Acrobatics in case he wanted to switch. And I killed his Mega Charizard X. Alright, with half his team defeated, things were looking pretty good in my favor. But he sends out a Starmie, which is a very fast and very specially offensive Pokemon. A bad matchup for my Gliscor. Or rather, good matchup for him, bad matchup for me. So, Gliscor was down and out. Both our teams were half defeated. I went with Yovion, who was specially defensive. And I had Shadow Ball, so I figured it was a good idea. So he uses Surf. Sylveon survives, because, like I said, she is specially defensive. And I use Shadow Ball. Now, it doesn't kill the Starmie. Starmie is somewhat defensive. So, in fear of his Starmie going down, his fast, specially offensive Pokemon, he switches it out for Zuzu, which is his Crobat, which is actually a pretty smart move on his part. Because if I wanted to take down his Crobat, I'd have to switch out. So I use Protect just to ensure that he's going to attack me. Again, you could call it stalling, but whatever. He uses Cross Poison, so yeah, I know he's going to attack me. So unfortunately, I had to live with the fact that Sylveon had to die. I'm sorry, girl. And of course, he gets attracted to me, but no point here because, well, Sylveon's dead. So it was a quick love, and then ran out of love or something. I don't know. My commentary sucks. I'm sorry. So I sent out Frostlass, who is my last resort trump card girl. I used Shadow Ball thinking he was gonna switch, so that's a mistake on my part. So on this turn I used Ice Beam, and this turn he actually does switch. Yoshiller thankfully survives. He goes back to Starmie if I recall correctly. Let's see. Yeah, he goes to Starmie. I used Ice Beam, thinking, oh shoot, well this sucks for me. But Ice Beam is thankfully enough to kill the Starmie. So it didn't really matter that Starmie was gonna die. So we both had two Pokemon remaining. Two Pokemon remaining. His Crobat was partially hurt. My Frostlass was about to die. At least I was able to take down his Starmie. That was a big concern of mine. And unfortunately, Frostlass is finished here. It's okay, girl. You did an awesome job. Okay. Last but not least, I had Espeon, my Espeon. My specially offensive Pokemon, but not defensive. He uses U-turn. And Espeon survives! But, am I able to defeat his last two Pokemon here? Am I? You're gonna have to find out in the next couple seconds. He sends out T-Rex Days. He needed a Pokemon that he had to switch out to a Pokemon, and ultimately this was his last one, so I do one-shot it. T-Rex Days is down. We didn't get to see him very much, but he was in the match, so I still have to put him on the side of the video. Alright, that means he has to send out Crobat again. It becomes a test of speed. He was faster last time, and he's faster this time, which means he wins the match, and I lose my first match in this round-robin tournament. Oh, good game, Glenn. Good game. And with that, I had my first loss in the tournament. But it's okay, because it was round-robin, which means I'm still able to do more matches and stuff. And that means my next match is against Arya, who is actually a guy. He just picked a female character. His actual name is Till Marvel. He just went by the name Arya. Alright, so he has a Bomb of Snow. But, here's the thing you may notice about it. It's not healing. Why is it not healing? Well, that's not a Bomb of Snow. That's a Zoroark. And that means trouble for my Frostlass. And something I guess I didn't do before this match, I didn't put a Focus Sash on my Frostlass. I thought I did, but I guess I was moving items around, deciding which strategy I wanted to use, and I never put the Focus Sash back on my Frostlass. So that was just unfortunate for me. He switches out a Zoroark because he knows I'm super effective toward it, and he sends out Aegislash, which is a bad matchup for my Sylveon. Or, again, a good matchup for him, a bad matchup for me. So, ultimately, this becomes a little weird because he tries to use the strategy where he's going to attack me, and then if I try to attack him, he uses King Shield. So, we end up going back and forth here. So, he tries to attack me, I used Protect. I wanted to attack him while he was in offensive form, so his defense would be lower, but he knew that, so he used King Shield, which means I couldn't attack him. And so, because I couldn't attack him, I protected again, and he tried to attack me, and neither of our attacks worked, so it ended up going back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, ultimately achieving nothing. So this goes on for a few turns. Eventually, one of us budged, or decided to try something else, or used Protect twice in a row. I forget exactly what happened, so yeah, again, this goes back and forth for a little while. Yeah, again, he's using King Shield, but I'm not getting hurt or anything because I'm not using any physical attacks. King Shield would have hurt me if I used a physical attack on it, but I'm not. He eventually decides to switch out because he knows I'm going to use Protect on this turn, and he sends out Mind Chew, a fighting-type Pokemon, which is weak to Fairy. Now, you might be wondering why he did that. Well, I used Protect in case he wanted to use Fake Out. Fake Out is an attack that most competitive users put on a Mind Shell, so I just wanted to double check. He goes for Poison Jab, and since I know he's going to try and do Poison Jab, I figured I could switch to Yawile, my Mawile, who is immune to Poison-type attacks and is resistant toward fighting. Actually, no. Fighting is neutral toward it, but whatever. Yawile is defensive. I Mega Evolve her, and she is super effective toward this Mind Shell. However, what he realizes is that he can't deal with a Mawile, so he decides to use U-turn and get out of the match. So Mind Shell's taking a little break. He's going back to his trainer, and the trainer is going to send out his next Pokemon, which is, spoiler alert, Aegislash. See? Called it, because I already know what happens. So what he doesn't know, though, is that I do have Sucker Punch, which is super effective toward him, which results in Aegislash's death. Goodbye, Aegislash. And I do get hurt by a Rocky Helmet, which is the item it's obviously holding. But that's okay. Aegislash is down. So I took care of one of his Pokemon finally. He goes to Abomasnow, but as you can tell, it's not the real Abomasnow because it's not healing and it's already been hurt. So he goes to Flamethrower, ultimately kills me, and Mawile is down. So we have a pretty good match here, guys. At least I consider it to be a pretty good match. Knowing that that's his Zoroark and not Abomasnow, I went to Yulvion, but he switched out knowing that Yulvion would be super effective toward it, and he went to QB, which is a Meowstic. I'm not exactly sure why. He probably just wanted something that wasn't super affected by Moonblast. But unfortunately for him, Yulvion was still strong enough to take out this Meowstic. See, he's using Psychic, but watch this. Yulvion's a pro. And then I use Shadow Ball because it's super effective toward the Psychic type, and I ultimately defeat his Meowstic. So huzzah! Goodbye, Meowstic. Okay. So up next on the list is, once again, Mind Chow. And I know he has Poison Jab, but just in case, I wanted to use Protect, because I know he'll also have Fake Out. So I wanted to make sure that that was out of the order. That was unusable, because Fake Out is only usable on the first turn that the user is out. So I wanted to make sure he wasted it, and he did. I went to Yiscore. He's doing Poison Jab. Won't be very effective toward Yiscore. Okay. And it doesn't poison me, thankfully. So, with that done, he's now returning to his owner again. It's a lot of switching back and forth in this battle, but ultimately there will be a winner, as you can tell. It's match number 18 of 25. Okay. So he turns to his master, his trainer, his owner, to send out Bubbles, and this is the real one because it has full HP and it's hailing. Okay. So with that said and done, Gliscor's in a bit of trouble, or is he? He is not, because I used a flying type move on that ice grass type, and grass is super affected by flying, and I used a super effective move without holding an item. So Yiscore got extra damage, because Acrobatics deals more damage if you're not holding an item. And that's a Zoroark because Night Daze is the signature move of Zoroark. And it killed me. And at the time, I actually didn't know that that was Zoroark, so please excuse me. Anyway, Yiscore is down. We each have 3 defeated. So I go to Yulvion again, because of regardless of whether or not it was Zoroark or Mind Shell, I'd still be super effective toward it. He uses Nasty Plot in hopes of him surviving. He's faster, which means if he survives, he'll be able to wreck the rest of my team. Thankfully, he did not survive, and Zoroark is finally defeated. So goodbye, Zoroark. You put up good tricks, Zoroark, but it's not enough to defeat me. And then the hail hurts me, because that's actually in play now. So now he's actually going to Mind Chow. He's going to the real deal, using Fake Out, and for some reason I forgot about that, or maybe I knew about it, but I didn't think he would do it. And, of course, the hail strikes in again, and Yulvion's about to die. So again, a very close match. I kill one thing, he kills one of my things. He switches out, I switch out. It's all about going back and forth until one of us is ultimately the winner, the victor. So Yovion is down. We're down 4-4. Got 2 left each. Or he has Mind Chow and one other that I don't know yet, and I have 2 remaining, and I know what they are. One of them is Yudra, my Gudra, who is specially defensive, not physically defensive. But I figured if anyone can take a hit, it's her. He uses Drain Punch. She barely survives. That Mind Chow restores its HP, and I Dragon Pulsage with my Gudra, which ultimately results in the death of that Mind Chow finally. And with only 1 Pokemon remaining, who knows who will win this? He has a Talonflame, a fire flying type, and a powerful one at that. He uses Brave Bird, and like I said, Gudra's not physically defensive, so that Brave Bird is enough to take down Gudra, especially since she hardly had any HP left. So we each have 1 Pokemon left, and what it ultimately comes down to speed and defense. So, who's faster? He's faster. So he strikes. Can Espeon take the hit? She can! At 17 HP remaining, he gets hurt by recoil damage from Brave Bird, and I use Psychic with the boosted power of Life Orbness. Talonflame is defeated, and I have won the match! Surviving with 4 HP! Good game, Till Marvel. Good game. Okay. Up next is again, I only have 1 person left to face in this round robin tournament, and that is Weapon Zemkale, who you might remember from, or whom you might remember from the 2nd episode of Pokemon BATAW, where he beat me. I needed to defeat him in order to advance on through the tournament. If I didn't defeat him, he would have had the most wins. He has 4 straight wins, I have 3, and another guy has 3 as of this match. So he starts off with Klefki. He's using Light Screen, but unfortunately for him, I have Brick Break, which shatters his Light Screen and Reflect. So there you go. Light Screen shattered, and a decent hit on him. So he does have leftovers, which is smart because he's using his Klefki defensively. And he's using it to set up stuff. So he's using it to have Spikes and Reflect and Light Screen and any other, whatever 4th attack he might have. Maybe he doesn't even have Reflect, I don't even know. But either way, I took down Klefki. That Steel Fairy type is gone. Mega Mawile is doing an awesome job. He then sends out Talon, which is his Gliscor. And I figured, he's got a Gliscor. I've got a Gliscor. Let's have some Gliscor versus Gliscor action. Except my Gliscor is a Yiscor, and his Gliscor is a Talon. So it's Yiscor versus Talon, and his Talon's ability has Poison Heal, which means that being poison heals him instead of hurting him. But he's not holding an item, or he is holding an item. I'm not holding an item, which means I get boosted power from Acrobatics, and I'm physically defensive. So I think that my Gliscor is better. He's using Acrobatics. Look how little that did. Look how much mine does. Yeah, we're having a Gliscor party. He might have Poison Heal, but I have the advantage. So ultimately, he decides he doesn't want his Gliscor to go down that quickly. So he moves on to the next Pokemon, Marth. His Gyarados. All water flying type and a bad matchup for my Gliscor. So I figure, let's see what I can do. Not a whole lot. He uses Ice Fang, which is 4 times super effective to my Gliscor, and thus my Gliscor has been defeated before his Gliscor. But that's okay, because I still have 5 Pokemon remaining, and he has 5 Pokemon remaining, so it's another close match. I send out Gudra, and while I know he has Ice Fang, I feel like I can take a hit, even with Spikes hurting me. Am I right? Well, Ice Fang does attack me, and I do barely survive, but it freezes me, stupid freeze hacks. But then I use hacks, and I get out of the freeze on the same turn I got frozen, and I use Thunderbolt on him, which is 4 times super effective, and he might be holding a berry, which resists the power of electricity, but it doesn't matter, because I got a critical hit, and I killed that Gyarados. Yeah. That's a lot of talking. Alright, so now he has a dragon, a real dragon, not a fake dragon like Gyarados, and it's Noivern, a speedy, specially offensive dragon, which ultimately results in my dragon being defeated. Good job, Gudra! You did an awesome job. Alright. Next up, I send out Yilbion, my fairy, whom he cannot hurt. So he withdraws Noivern, but I used Protect this turn in case he had some other attack. So, kind of my mistake, but whatever. He sends out a Deathly Tree, that is Trevenant, a Ghost Grass type. And I try to go for a super effective hit of Shadow, but what I didn't know was Trevenant's ability. which makes it so he can constantly reuse an item. And since he has a citrus berry on it, he will be forever healing. He puts Will-O-Wisp on me in hopes of stalling me out, so I figure, alright, you want to stall me out? I'm gonna try and stall you out, you freaking hollow tree? Halloween tree? I don't know. He goes for the Horn Leech. He's trying to steal my HP. He's trying to go to max HP while I have none. And I'm trying to use Toxic, but it's not working. I have 7 HP left and I'm burned. I try one more time and Toxic succeeds. So that means even if I can't kill him with power, I can stall him out because Toxic will deal more and more damage every turn. Which means even though he's healing with the Citrus Berry, the Toxic will eventually become too much for him to heal from. He kills me while falling in love with me, which means he's in love with a dead Sylveon carcass. Kinda sad. Okay. The poison hurts him though. And while I have 3 Pokemon eliminated, and he only has 2, it's not the end for me. I send out Yoshiller, my Ghost Ice type, which has an advantage over him. I'm not defensive in the slightest though, so I start by stalling him out. I'm especially offensive, but he seems to be relatively defensive, so I figure I'm going to let the poison do a little bit to him. I go for an Ice Beam, super effective. He survives, but I figured the poison can knock him out, even if he is healing with a Citrus Berry. And alright, so what's gonna happen? He uses Will-O-Wisp, which means I can't possibly die this turn unless that burn is like so bad that my whole icy body just disintegrates and melts into water, which I don't want to happen because technically speaking, Froslass is already dead, and that's why it's a ghost type. At least something like that, right? I have no idea. Well, some mythological thing. Okay, so he heals with Citrus Berries stuff. I Ice Beam him again, assuring the death of this deathly tree. Goodbye, deathly tree. You are dead like the deathly tree that you are. And the burn still hurts me. Alright, so I'm halfway done with this team while he's almost done with mine, and he sends out Wolverine, a Lucario. A shiny one at that, the only shiny one in this whole tournament. And I'm pretty sure every opponent has used a Lucario so far. So I go to Mega Mawile, who is still alive in case you had forgotten. But you shouldn't have because I had her on the side of the video the whole time. And he uses Shadow Claw. He gets hurt by some HP stuff. He uses Shadow Claw again. Either he doesn't have Earthquake or he's Choice Scarfed or something. And I go for Brick Break because it's super effective and I'm Mega Mawile, which means my attack power is off the charts. So goodbye, shiny Lucario. And I'm slowly reclaiming my fame in this battle. He goes to Gliscor. I use Sucker Punch because I guess he forgot I had that, and I kill his Gliscor. Slowly but surely, I am reclaiming my fame in this battle, and I am going to make sure I defeat him in this round-robin tournament. He goes to Noivern, which means he can't hurt me with the Dragon attack. But he must have something else. I'm Sucker Punching him, which means he's attacking this turn. And of course, he has Flamethrower, which means my Mega Mawile is mega dead, unfortunately. Alright, I have 2 Pokemon remaining, and one of them's almost dead. So I go to Espeon because I don't want to have to deal with that flamethrower of his. So he goes for Draco Meteor, a powerful dragon attack. It's looking like the end for me, but wait, you figure it's the last turn of the battle. Yes, Espeon hung in there. You see, natures are important for a Pokemon, and my Espeon had a bad nature, which was increasing special defense and lowering speed or something like that. But it came in handy in this battle because it allowed me to survive Draco Meteor. And although Espeon eventually fainted after her job well done, I still had Yoshiller, which meant the battle was won for me. Now, we had a 3-way tie, with 3 of us having 4 wins and 1 loss, and that was Weapons MKL, the person I just fought, Glenn, the guy that defeated me, and myself. So, we had to do a finals round. So, Weapons MKL and Glenn fought first. Weapons MKL was ultimately the victor. Weapons MKL then had to fight me, and if he beat me, that would crown him as the champion, and then Glenn and I would battle for second place. If I beat him, then, well, we keep going. So here we go. Here's me battling Weapons MKL again. He ultimately won his battle against Glenn, like I said, which means that this battle was very important for me to win. So we ultimately started off the same way, like we did last time. I had Mawile, which I decided to Mega Evolve, and he had his Klefki. I used Brick Break in case he decided to use Light Screen again, but obviously he was smart enough to know better than that. I could have used Iron Head and got same type attack bonus, but whatever. It probably would have taken 2 hits to kill him anyway. So I used Brick Break. Here we go. Oh, no, actually, with a critical hit, I don't even know. If I got a critical hit with Iron Head, I probably could have killed him. And how was I supposed to know I was going to get a critical hit? I'm holding a Mawile Light. So he takes left key back, and he's going straight for the Deathly Tree in hopes of immediately stalling me out. But I can't let that happen. I use Brick Break, which means I don't hurt him because he switched out, and I didn't know he was going to go to Deathly Tree, but he knew I was going to use Brick Break. And we both missed for one reason or another. I missed again, and he missed again, so it's just pretty much random stall on. I use Play Rough. It kills him, so I guess my Mega Mawile gets the job mega well done. Okay, so he goes to Talon, his Gliscor, and I figured he's probably using Earthquake, so I'm going to go to Gliscor. And even if he's not using Earthquake, my Gliscor is physically defensive, so it's cool. And he is using Earthquake, so I made a smart call. So again, we have ourselves another Gliscor party with a Gliscor versus Gliscor, and he's immediately recalling it because I guess he's not a fan of Gliscor parties or something, and he goes straight to Gyarados. Now, see, this is kind of where I make a stupid move, but, you know, stupid moves tend to happen. I used Earthquake because I knew he was going to switch out. But I didn't expect him to go to Gyarados for some reason. That is my mistake. So I went to Mega Mawile because she is physically defensive. So he goes for Dragon Dance, which allows him to boost his attack and his speed, making it super fast and super strong. How will I ever deal with this Gyarados? Well, let's just say it wasn't easy. I sucker punched it because I knew he was going to attack me, but it wasn't enough. His Earthquake ruins me. That Magikarp he raised, man, into that Gyarados did him good. He took the time to raise that poor old fish into a great old serpent thingy. So I went to Yulbion because I figured she's defensive. More so specially defensive, but maybe she could take a hit. He goes for Waterfall, getting that same type attack bonus, and Yulbion is defeated! Unfortunately, that means two of my Pokemon are already down, and I haven't defeated... Actually, I defeated this Trevenant. Otherwise, you know, I'm getting wrecked. So I go to Yoshiller, which is supposed to be my trump card, but he had Spikes out, and I forgot about that, which means I can't use my Focus Sash Destiny Bond trick. So Yoshiller is down, meaning she was unable to do anything in this battle alongside Yulbion. So I went to Udra, because I know she's resistant toward water attacks and relatively defensive, but again, she's more so specially defensive and not physically defensive, which means that Ice Fang is super effective toward Udra, and that means Udra is gone too, and his Gyarados is sweeping my team! So I have two Pokemon left. I go to Gliscor and you say, well, why would you go to Gliscor? He's 4 times weak to ice. Well, he's physically defensive, but it's not enough. Gliscor is down, and I'm left with one Pokemon, and that's Espeon, my Espeon! So I go to her, and I don't know if this was a misclick or intentional, but he does use Ice Fang, which is his mistake because Espeon somehow survives. So there you go. Gyarados is finally defeated. So he didn't fully sweep my team with Gyarados. He almost did, but he didn't. And I have 5 HP left, and I'm holding a Life Orb. So if I ever want to attack, I have to hurt myself. And he goes to a Shiny Lucario, which I eliminated quickly in the previous match, and it's ultimately the reason he wins this match because he has extreme speed, giving him the priority, and of course defeating my Espeon, which means Weapons MKO became the champion of the tournament. But there was still one match left to do, and that was the match for 2nd and 3rd place. So with Weapons MKO having the most amount of wins in this tournament, well, I fought against Glenn to see who could get 2nd place. So here we go, the last match I played. So here we go. So I start off with Yoshiller, my Frostlass, because, you know, she usually kills one thing. He starts off with Weavile, which is unfortunate for me because I can't really do anything about a Weavile. You know, it's faster, it's super effective toward me, but I try to go for Destiny Bond anyway. So I survive with my Focus Sash, which I put back on Frostlass after one of the matches. Yeah, I use that Destiny Bond because, you know, yeah, and he's like, I'm not letting Weavile go down, I'm going to switch it out. So he goes to his Twinkle Star, which is his Starmie. So I use Destiny Bond again in case he were to do something like that. Now here's the thing. This was the same guy that caused me to have a loss in the tournament. So I was pretty nervous fighting him. I wanted to make sure I can take down something. And what he tried to do was, he tried to stall me out. And the reason he kept going to Weavile was because Weavile had pressure, which means that my power points would get drained twice as quickly. And I used Shadow Ball thinking that he was going to stay in with Starmie, but okay. So I went to Yawile, he was using Night Slash because he knew he was faster than me. But it's okay because I knew I should switch. And so he withdraws his Weavile. I Mega Evolve my Mawile, but that doesn't happen until after he sends out Fire Bro, which is his Charizard. So I Mega Evolve Megawile into a Mega Beast because she is mega awesome now. With that second spiky head thing on her head. And I used Brick Break thinking he would stay in, but obviously he was smarter than that. So it wasn't very effective. But I do have Sucker Punch, and with the Mega Mawile using it, Charizard does not stand a chance. So I guess he wasn't going to Mega Evolve it, which is fine. It's understandable. So now he goes to T-Rex Ace, his Tyrantrum. The last time I fought him in this tournament, he didn't really get to do much. But he is going to be the cause of my Mega Mawile's death. It's okay, Mega Mawile. You did an awesome job, and he got a critical hit. I couldn't have done anything about that. I mean, I could have switched, but, you know, whatever. So I went to Yovion, because that thing is a rock dragon and fairy, a super effective to a dragon. He uses Earthquake again, which kind of had me concerned, but Yovion took it like a pro. I used Moonblast, got to make sure that dragon is off the field. So, that dragon is defeated. Goodbye, Tyrantrum. Okay, so I defeated 2 of his Pokemon. He defeated 2 of mine. Kind of on even ends, not really. He goes to Weavile, hoping that the speed will give him the advantage, but although he is faster, he's not strong enough to kill my Yovion. So, oh, and he falls in love with me, but that's okay because he's about to die. See, this, all the other times the Pokemon fell in love with Yovion, my Yovion died. This time he's going to fall in love with me, and then he's going to die. So goodbye, Weavile. This ultimately puts me in the lead. So, yeah, but will it hold up? Well, he goes to Crobat, and I figured, well, I should probably just let Yovion die because I don't want something else to get poisoned and hurt and whatever, and Mega Mawile is dead. So now that Yovion is dead, I go to Udra, my Goodra, because I figured she can take a hit. And she has Thunderbolt. He uses Acrobatics, which for some reason I didn't think about, and it does a lot of damage, which kind of had me a little worried for the rest of this match. Because if this Ice Beam didn't kill him, which it doesn't, that meant that my Goodra was going to be defeated. And that's what happens. It's okay, Goodra, I still think you're amazing. So, I then go to Yoshiller, who's physically defensive, because I figured he can get the job done. He uses Acrobatics again, which is fine, because Gliscor's still able to take it. I use my own Acrobatics, and I defeat his Flying type with my Flying type. So, Crobat is down. But, I forgot that I still had to deal with that Starmie of his, which was fast and strong. So he goes for that Ice Beam, which is 4 times super effective to my Gliscor, and Starmie is an amazing special attacker, which ultimately meant Gliscor had no chance of surviving, even without the critical hit. But he got a critical hit, so whatever. So with my team almost defeated, I figured, let's try Yoshiller. I mean, he's probably faster, but who knows, maybe something would happen. And no, he's using Surf, which means Yoshiller is dead. I'm sorry, Yoshiller. So I had 1 Pokemon left to his 2 Pokemon remaining. So I went to Espeon. I kind of like saving her for last because she's more so specially offensive than defensive, but she can take a hit like she does right here. So I use Shadow Ball, which is super effective toward that Starmie since it's a Water Psychic type, and Starmie is defeated. So there's only 1 Pokemon left on his team anyway. So that means, am I going to get 2nd place or am I going to get 3rd place? Well, his last Pokemon is Lucario, and he does have a priority move, which means I lose and he gets 2nd place. And I get 3rd. So, humans, that's the round robin tournament. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. So, thanks for having the round robin tournament anime club. And let's just have the speed up parts play. So, let the speed up of the tournaments play. Hooray!